Good morning. So we had a down day in some spaces. Well, I guess indices relatively significant for a day. But let's look around. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Well, let's start up here at the top. This wasn't a down day. So there was some bullish activity in the transports, an underperformer. We talked about the sell setup here a week ago and how that reversed and failed, and breadth expanding, which happened over here. Uh, some indices, ETFs, stocks brought up the rear, as we say, played some catch up. And we saw a rotation into laggards and some money coming out of leaders. So, how much did that change things? Well, this looks like it can continue to go higher. Now, IWM, down day, still nothing wrong there. Looks okay. 65-minute chart violated that support that we've been talking about. And these little gray areas show the overnight trading, but nothing of significance yet. You can see where it's trading here, just below that bar. So as we see prices in uptrends, yeah, there's going to be red days. And this market being the way it is, we see little failure patterns, breakout failures and breakdown failures. That's the idea. I'm called bipolar or sometimes schizophrenic, but it shows that there's buyers on the dip. So the Russell speculative small caps, which have been a theme for, well, a long time, you can see back here, where I'm scrolling back on the weekly chart, they've been hated and they've been loved and broke out and hated some more. And now they're up at this resistance, but we've got a lot of these large bearish red bars ignored, which is bullish. So are we going to continue higher? Is this a short-term high? I don't know yet. One of the things that we talked about a week or so ago was options expiration being a turning point many times on a short-term basis. And so far, that options expiration has been the high. I don't know if I have that chart anymore, but it was Wednesday, Thursday, here. And so some markets are just drifting like this is. And I'll be interested to see, of course, if this can actually get turned around and we can get a green day today. We have the FOMC minutes. Everybody's waiting to hear what Powell's going to say. So there's that unknown with news, but we're just going to have to see how this plays out. Many things are still in uptrends, still look positive, like this, kind of just drifting down. So red days don't change the trend. It's on top of this minor support. So we're going to see if we can get a turn day. As looking at this, does the transports continue to move higher? And look at the industrials here. That was a rejection yesterday. So we can't look at one candle and say it's any kind of a big deal, or thinking, oh, the top is in. That's pretty ridiculous to think that way. But we got some consolidation here. It held the lows, so it's just some choppy price action for now. It broke out so far. It still looks pretty good. Before I get to the other things, you know, the internals that are here, you can see one of the sentiment gauges is pushing into the upper bands. Not a big deal yet. This one is not, and breadth is around the zero line. So we just keep an eye on that in the coming days and see how that develops. So there's no signal yet by the internals. And Q's here. That's a little bit more convincing for a down day, huh? but stalled right on the 20. It's in an uptrend. Um, is there some support here to the left or congestion? So there's a pivot low right there. And this is a 24-hour chart. This is the overnight data, but regardless, all right. The light areas are the actual trading day, and gray areas are overnight. So we've got a significant, relatively significant support level right here, which is aligned with a subjective reference point, the rising simple 20 MA, which prices have stalled here. And overnight, so far, we've got a little rejection of the downside. Now, as far as an opportunity, because this led the way down, you can see on the 65-minute chart how it came down here. If today could be somewhat of an up day, be surprised to see it totally negate this bar, but this is one that would have a greater opportunity for intraday trades to try and retrace back up into this area here, even 50% into the red bar. We'll see if that's in the cards. Probably would have been better if it was gapping down, but look, there was already a little, you can see where it was overnight, where I'm putting the cursor on that bottoming tail bar, and below, you can see, where today is below yesterday's low, which came down into the area of that bottoming tail bar, what we were looking on the 65-minute. So, as I always say, almost on a daily basis, look to the left. We'll see about that turning around. Let's look at the spiders. So there was a down day as well. It's in an uptrend. You can see, opening lower there this morning, buying on the dip, bottoming tail bar on the 65-minute. So it came up again. But no, this one has the congestion right there. Typically that will require, well, maybe not the right word, require. Who makes that requirement? Well, I do, according to my own trading plan. When I see this kind of price action within the context of an uptrend on the daily, it's not at the 20 yet, and at this congestion, it needs to do one of two things: go back down there and go to the obvious area to the left there and stabilize, or it goes sideways at this resistance and opens up the door to going back up in the context of a daily uptrend. So that's what I'd refer to as being in development mode, not quite there yet. And so if we can get, on this particular chart, ideally, it just continues to go down into this area, into the obvious place where buyers should be waiting. And at that point, we look for bottoming patterns on a smaller time frame. That's what we call a factory work. Not lined up yet. All right. To SPX, and then we'll look at some other ETFs. So let's see where that is relative to. Come on, charts. Give this a second here. Yeah, so down at yesterday's low, it was close to the 20. See, that this opening down here, right, 3 o'clock in the morning, give or take, it had gapped down. That's the time when right, the DAX opens up. I think it's 3 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time. So I haven't looked at it, but it probably was lower in sympathy with what happened in our markets, I'm assuming. And then buyers came in again. So it got close to that area. And then as it came down again, you can see at 7:30 in the morning, buyers stepped in again on the retest and pushed it up, and it didn't even get down to the low. So there's anticipation of buying the dip as this comes lower. That's what this chart tells us. Now, how does it deal with that resistance? All right, so it's at yesterday's low, gapping down a little bit. Come on. Okay, so it's down here, right? Rising 20, support down there. Yesterday's strike got tagged. So these are always starting points. Is there news that can help it deal with resistance? Well, I suppose so, Robert, but it really doesn't matter to us as technical traders. We know that the FOMC minutes are coming out, so that's the past anyway that they're providing to us. But as far as other news goes coming out today, I think the primary news focus is going to be what Powell has to say, and everybody waiting to see, is he going to talk about cutting, or going to be, hey, the numbers say we shouldn't, and I'm standing my ground. And then of course we just see how the markets are going to react to that. There's the Fed guy, Waller, is going to be talking at 11 o'clock. So we'll see what he has to say. Um, but as far as technically would help it, the only thing that's going to help it at resistance is more buying. So we know there's resistance, supply. If there's enough demand, it'll either go through it or it'll chop sideways there. And so technically, whatever's going to happen, we know what kind of price action needs to develop. All right. Okay. Nope. Interesting. Wow. Hmm. Oh, it's down. It's down below. I thought it was coming up 43, 45. Okay. Makes more sense now. So the anticipation is that it's going to go lower. Right. So these strikes, what it tells us is that there's more bearish bets coming in. And so the premium down here, right, is, you gotta, whatever you're gonna do, we always combine these with the direction intraday and looking for price patterns of some kind of stabilization or spike. And you could use the NYSE tick, which interestingly enough didn't hit some extremes yesterday on that move lower. So there wasn't any real capitulation, in the overnight data being that we already covered. We know that there's anticipation of buying the dip. All right. Interest rates. Well, these taking long to fill in. They're putting in new fiber where we are here, and maybe they're in the transition of turning it on. This usually isn't slow, but anyway, interest rates aren't doing anything. I think everybody's just waiting for this news. Bitcoin is on some significant support here. So we'll see if buyers want to come in and push that back up. Uh, and mid caps got rejected. So yesterday was a rejection day, and we'll just have to see how this transitions today. So semiconductors came in pretty hard, but still in an uptrend, wide range bar. You can see the rejection bar there, the bottoming tail bar on the 65-minute. So as we go into today, the thing is, there's buyers lurking below. Majority of trends are still up, and we'll see if they can turn it around. And the news can be playing, when Powell says whatever he's going to say, can play havoc with the whole deal. So um, financials are important. We talked about whether this was going to follow through. Can it negate this topping pattern? We're still waiting to find out, what they're going to do. And, you know, biotechs broke out. So many things that showed strength, the catch-up trades, the breadth expanding, it's consolidating those gains. They're coming into areas where buyers are going to be, and we're waiting to see how they show up and do we get reversal patterns where they should be or not. All yours, Dan. When did we get to a point where we are focused on Jackson Hole? Well, Jackson Hole is an event that happens annually, and it's always a focal point because it's a big event, Frenchie, that, you know, important people managing money and the government and such go there and they say their piece. And, because Powell is being, you know, shown the exit door, and he's the guy that makes the announcement about interest rates, and interest rates being so key to the markets. Is there liquidity being added? Is it being taken out? It's a much more important event right now because of what I just said. Go ahead, Dan. Good morning.
But I thought he was asking, Greg, when is it relevant? Because you were saying, hey, it's pending. And I think the answer is Friday. Friday is when they're going to start yakking from that meeting. Greg mentioned this to me. That's a great idea. Great pattern for it. But the 300s are too spready. But this is, when we talk about bottoming patterns and moving averages, look at all those flat converging MAs. So buyers and sellers on different time frames are in agreement right here. So, something to watch. It could turn into a direction. Other alarms, yeah, Pelletier, we were watching yesterday, but that's a power downtrend on the 15. I personally don't think that's ready to reverse yet. The lower the better. Still in an uptrend. Here's major support right here. Major pivot is major support. So $150. And that would be a nice number for it to get to 150, and then time buyers there, make a turn. Yeah, Carvana, nasty gap down for some reason, has to be news. And that was a beautiful pattern right there. And unfortunately, we got the 340 $5 wide put spread. So that's in damage control. 82 ADT. This is one Anna found for us yesterday. I'd love to get a 1, 2, 3 on this. And you have a bunch of inside bars, and now that was a closing breakout. It's not on my door. I'm trying to come in. I'm not going to answer it. ALK alarm, topping tail. We sold the 52.5 puts on that. Nothing to do now. That's it. Those are all the alarms. Let's look at earnings. Nasty gap down. Now that's one that I call. That's one that I call nasty as can be, but maybe excessive for a bounce. Still bearish pre-market. So let's see what it does. I have no idea. Total uptrend, railroad tracks. Was down, now it's flat. No bias. It's bullish. That's a bull rectangle, bull monthly, gap and down. It is extended far from a 20. So with the gap down, it looks like a call spread idea. And keys selling off 156. The big gap, a call spread. Jack Henry. It was a Climo trying to make a turn. We do not trade Climos that gap further from consolidation. So that's not a gap and snap unless it filled the gap and then had a potent turn. But that's ugly. Lazy boy. Ah, poor Sam. This is Sam's company. This gap in a 30. This is the monthly, now 32. I mean, it fits in the category of big old ugly gap. Let's see what it does. TJX retail. Now this actually is a gap and crap candidate for day trade short and also a call spread. I will put this in a window. TJX, because you know, gapping up. It's up a lot here from 124. Premiums will be jacked to the upside on the gap up. And we'll look to sell call spread. LOW 263. Also a little different, but also a call spread candidate. ADI 240, put spread candidate. That's a bullish and maybe day trade. That's actually a bullish pre-market too. And I got Pelletier there, so I'm going to put ADI in the window. Target, I'm getting whacked. We actually did a condor on this. We did the 1.6, only $2 wide. So we sold a $2 wide for 70 cents. So what that means is we're risking $1.30 to make 70. And you might say, well, why on earth would I do that? And the answer is probability. I'm getting a stupid error. I can't have TradeStation on two computers now. Not TradeStation, but TOS. It's saying exchange regulations. I always have them on two computers. So even with this gap down, well, as of right now, we're 46 cents out of the money. I have a strong belief that if it opens right here above 94, that we're still going to have an open profit despite this thing gapping $11 against us. But we'll see. They're going to be a little spready at the open. So ideally, we'll get a quick little dead cat bounce from short covering, from target buyers, whatever the case, and then we just close it on a bounce at a profit. So I'm going to have it logged up here so I can monitor the midpoint, and I will advise. Actually, let me tell the subscribers that too, so they aren't freaking out. All right, continuing. Estee Lauder. I said that looked like a topping pattern. I favored the call spread if I were to do something on that, which I didn't, but I still like it as a call spread, maybe 10-minute low, 15-minute low. You know, but if it fills the gap, then I don't want it. A bearish or bullish gap should not fill the gap in the first 30 minutes. Futu, that Chinese stock was strong. Look, daily, weekly, monthly are incredible. Delta Yankee, 240, another nasty gap, but gaps like that in the middle of no man's land, I think they go lower. 32.80 over yesterday's high. This could be a day trade and put spread. It's actually a sloppy buy setup at the 50 with a 4-bar turn. So if it takes out yesterday's high, I like it. I'll set alarm 33.05. Zoom. So here's a different type of example of what I just said, that a gap shouldn't be filled. I was talking about the morning gap, but this is still a bullish gap that got filled. Also, that's weakness. It gave it up. Now it's gapping down here to 1450. It could be a short-term exhaustion gap. I'll watch it. DACA was another example. No, not DACA. Duolingo, maybe? Yeah, this one. Remember, this had a big earnings gap. Same thing. Look, it gave it all up. That's bearish. All right, those are all the earnings. These are just miscellaneous things. Those are gapping up here. It got an upgrade, but it really has to clear all this, and then it might go to 52. Car got a downgrade, and that's a bearish pattern. You know, this what's today? Tuesday. So Friday's bar was the tell. No, today's Wednesday. So Monday's bar. Monday's bar was the tell that there's still sellers up there and you still have a void. So that actually was a valid short, but it's gapping down $10. But it has room to fall. Minor support. It's here at 132. Yeah, I did picture, sure. I said it's bullish. I'll be looking, and I like the 15-minute pre-market also. So yeah, we can watch it for a day trade, and also a put spread. Marvel had a nasty crack yesterday. That's a call spread watch. Trump rambling again about the tariffs on steel and aluminum. So I looked at Stole, no pattern. Alcoa had no pattern. Deck. We did a put spread yesterday over yesterday's high. Still looks like a bottoming pattern. Oh, this thing we're in already. We sold a third pre-market. A beautiful retest of this. Beautiful. Sissy. Sissy is no sissy today. Gapping up to $8. Wow. This was on Sam's list. It's a breakdown candidate. I just wish it had a bigger void is all, but it is weak. Under the 20, looks lower. Sam, this is your 1, 2, 3, right at the 200, but it's worth watching. ENR alarm. This one I like a lot. Nice retest again of the buy setup. I like this one. Let's give it 5 minutes. Let's buy a half lot over yesterday's high after 5 minutes.
Chop is coming down to the rising 20. Not ready yet. Gapped up big on earnings out of a consolidation.
So the EMR looks good. All right, so it looks like Target has opened up, and well, it was 29. Now it's bouncing around. I'm gonna picture this midpoint. We're like right at, well, depending on the spread, it shows we're down 5 cents. So despite this thing gapping down $11, now it's at 70. Let's kill this thing, break even. I don't, it's one of those things you might. I'm bidding 60 for a small profit. Circle, low alarm. I mentioned that. Looks like a day trade short. Ideally, it'd be 30-minute low. Would be a nice entry on that. Let it bobble around a little bit more. Few spiders down though. All right, I'm out of my target on a small gain on that little pop right there. Oh, Delta 20 Berkshire. I just saw, but yeah, nah, I don't like that at all. Bottom of the range to the top. Major resistance, weekly resistance. I don't like that Delta 20. And Q spiders and a little, continuation tantrum from yesterday. I don't like it. The one I liked, look at the difference here. Compare that to ENR. Look, pro gap, buy setup, retest a buy setup, bullish bar, inside bar, bullish 15. So the ENR is, to me, a superior setup. So 28.73 would be the entry, I said. And Diamond's the strongest here and has a nice 15-minute chart is a nice void from yesterday's sell-off. So that looks good. All right, so yeah, look at Target. See, some buyers did stuff up there. So it's another one of those judgment calls. You would have a bigger profit right now had you been a little more patient. I'm just quick to exit things that are such a nasty gap against you. But nice pre-market. It actually looks like a new put spread idea, but I'm not doing it. Yeah, I mentioned that, Thomas, over the highs. We did a put spread yesterday. Has to get it over yesterday's high. I had an alarm. Said G up alarm. I was hoping it'd bobble around sideways more, but daily, weekly, monthly said G looked good. I just think the sector was going to come in a little bit too. All right, so maybe 30-minute high. Maybe this. I was hoping it dip down to 150 and give us a reversal. on the leads from yesterday, closing breakout. I just didn't know about the reward to risk. I think it's going to stall here, but yesterday was the Climo and closing breakout. ADI, it's too sloppy now. All right, diamonds, what's making them rip? Apple down 2. McDonald's up 260. I mentioned that yesterday. It was a breakout, but then it retraced 50% up until. What is moving the Dow? Verizon, Travelers. Travelers breaking out, but it's a sloppy pattern. It's kind of a big old inverse head and shoulder. Look at this head here. Here's your left shoulder. Here's your right shoulder. There's your neckline. It's a sloppy one, but it is an inverse head and shoulder. All right, ENR just triggered. Well, the hesitancy is the market, but we did a half lot, and it looks like it's on its own page. ART up alarm. Let's tighten stop. We already have a break even, so that's fine. I'll just set a higher alarm now.
More of the same so far. Russell back down to the lows here.
Bid F was a breakout failure with the weakness. Bitcoin stocks yesterday. Looks like bull stopped out.
That was bullshit, Dan.
What? The
Bull.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean this stuff, I'm putting it in my it's hard to trade category.
Whippy.
Mm-hmm. So what's spread 14 and a half, 13 and a half. Verizon looking great. We're gonna have long calls. Let's tighten this stuff. 3488. Yeah, there's no void. It could be a put spread under this base. But yeah, I don't like the void for directional. Again, compared to that ENR, compared to this one, we took partial profits. Look, this is superior setup. You got a fluid move, creating a void. You got a retest. You got railroad track 2050. Hey, welcome, Bill. How is your recovering coming? Yeah, that's a good short SMCI. Yeah, Thomas, that's much better for day trade. Closing breakdown. Nice bearish 15. Yeah, that's a beautiful day trade short. Stop high. I like it. Like it. Our ENR, nice relative strength. The only long I gave so far. Mondelez fruit. All right, LOW, I said was the call spread candidate. Let me look at the truth. Yeah, all the things look weak here. Microsoft's neutral. All the other ones, well, Netflix neutral, but all the other ones are lower. So I'd be careful about trying to fight that uniform.
Set your alerts, Meta at the 50 MA, the top of that base. Get ready. It's gonna, these things are gonna turn.
This was the one I mentioned, call spread, excessive gap. So let's see what strike. No juice. 146 is 45 cents. That pre-market high. All right, so our bias was correct. Bitcoin's still weak. That was a bit of a stop bell. Yeah, that looks so good. So good. All right, low alarm on Mindy. See that thing I've been watching, it couldn't bounce, but nothing to do here. AD line's still barely positive, but semis are weak. XLF reversed, a mess. I'm, I'm in, shoot, look at our Tesla, Greg, failed too. So, yeah, we traded a couple of these. Tesla we did yesterday at 322s. Look at that shit. Stop was 325 though, so it stopped out a while ago. Heck, 103, 100. Yeah, I was watching McDonald's yesterday.